Hello everybody, Mannix here. Got another little knife review for you right here, right now. But first, feel free to subscribe, hit that little bell notification if you do not want to miss weekly knife and gun videos as always. This is on a very, very interesting, unique new knife to me. I've never heard of this thing. I've never seen this thing. I didn't really see anybody talk about this thing yet. Really intrigued me. The Senbon folding kitchen knife. The official name of this guy, kind of difficult to find information on it other than just where you buy it from. Senbon 440 stainless steel super sharp pocket knife, folding chef knife, peeling utility knife, fruit knife, G10. I don't know if it has an actual model number or anything. From the box, beautiful box by the way, very nice presentation. Even comes with a little microfiber cloth pouch, all that good stuff. Really nice that they do that. They call it the Senbon folding fruit knife. So very, very, very interesting, cool knife. I'm a big fan of it. Kind of came out of nowhere. I was just looking around for different new weird knives, looking at cheap knives, just seeing if anything comes out, because now we're using these crossbar or shaft locks, whatever you want to call these Axis clones. They're popping up all over the place. There's a lot of really, really cheap, affordable knives around the $15 range, sometimes cheaper, popping up out there using these locking mechanisms. It's pretty cool. But this one in particular intrigued me for a few reasons. The first one being it's a really, really long knife, actually. It's approaching the XL size folders. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Another thing was, of course, this locking mechanism right here. And another thing was its price. It's less than 40 bucks. I got this for around $36 or so. Overall, I'm going to say totally worth it. Very affordable. It's not the deal of a lifetime or anything, but it's certainly not expensive. I can think of many, many, many knives that have their prices just up in the damn stratosphere. This knife's totally, totally worth it overall. Look, we even got tip up loop over pocket clip right there. That's incredible. We have variety. I picked the Santoku blade. I'm very partial to that, but we also have the Nakiri blade style, which you might know more as a cleaver, and then what they call the petty blade style, which looks more like a drop point. That's probably going to be the most popular one if people start actually buying these things. And then they also have the bread knife blade style, which essentially is the same as the Santoku, but it's serrated. Very, very, very interesting. You can't really go wrong with any of them, depending on what you're trying to do, but I'm more into the Santoku. We'll get into the details in just a moment. Let's get some specs out of the way real quick. 4.8-inch blade. Almost 5 inches on that sucker right there. That is long. 440 stainless steel. That's all they're saying. We're going to talk about that too. G10 handle scales, 5.4-inch handle length, making the overall length 10.2 inches. Not sure what these retail at, but currently on Amazon, we're seeing $37.77. So there's our Santoku blade style right there. There's what they call the petty blade style. Again, that's probably going to be the most popular blade style, most useful overall, better for piercing, all that stuff. The Nakiri, I was considering getting this one. It was either this one or the Santoku. Very similar to the Santoku, but we have an even more obtuse tip. Even less of a tip than the Santoku. It's going to be better for chopping, but it's going to be worse for piercing. Pretty similar though. You can't really go wrong either way. We got stainless steel liners in here, which are fully skeletonized, by the way. Very nice skeletonization job on that as well. So a lot of attention to detail. I love the little orange accents we have. The little orange accent around the pivot screw, little orange accent on the G10 next to this body screw in the middle. Just a nice little touch. Makes it feel more expensive, more fancy, more beautiful. The G10 is very rounded and smooth. It's not like a textured G10. There is some like grip right there, like you could expect a G10 that's rounded like this, but it's not like a sandpapery type grip you'd expect G10 to have. As always, it's time to weigh this sucker. Feels light. It's very, very light. Oh, 4.87, little under 5 ounces. Not too bad, totally acceptable weight. And if you know me, I personally do not give a shit about weight on folding knives. I've carried knives that were 13, 14, 15 ounces and it didn't bother me one bit. Maybe that's just me. Some people got specific rules. I'm never buying a knife that's over 3.5 ounces or whatever it is. If you're one of those guys, yeah, you're probably not gonna like this one, but totally not a heavy knife by any means, especially considering the sheer blade length we're getting on here, almost 5 inches. That's long. It's very rare to find 4-inch blades these days. I miss long knives. I like long, big knives. Most knives we're seeing like 3.5, maybe 3.8 inches if you're lucky. But if you want the longer blades, you kind of just got to go to cold steel. Most companies are not selling knives that have very, very long blades. It's not easy to find those. This is a step in the right direction. In fact, let's compare it to our old cold steel Recon 1, one of my favorite all-time knives. 4-inch blade on this sucker. It's a long knife, but it's trumped. It's actually dwarfed by our Senbon right here by a little bit. We're going butt to butt. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're getting longer blade right there, at least 0.8 inches, as you can see. Still a really awesome long knife on a Recon 1, but my point is it's hard to find these long blades, and that's one of the reasons I was attracted to this one. Now, the whole concept behind these knives is that they're foldable kitchen knives, but they can also double as EDC, if not possibly even defensive blades. Now, they don't advertise as being for defense, but you could almost use them as that. They're very long. You want reach, length, all that good stuff when it comes to defense. This is really not a bad knife to have for defense if it's already in your hand. It's a long, swift, lightweight, maneuverable knife. I'm going to say this is totally adequate for defense if it's already in your hands, it's already in this grip. You have the whole kind of kitchen knife situation going on here with the ergonomics. It's a big old cutout right here, so to speak, for your fingers, so you can get that entire cutting edge nice and flush on your surface without your fingers obstructing it. Going back to our Recon 1, a more normal carry knife, you don't exactly have that situation. I cannot get this blade completely flush without my fingers obstructing the space. This guy, on the other hand, because it's more designed to be a kitchen knife, you absolutely can do that. But it's also a folding pocket knife. We got the locking mechanism on there. We got the pocket clip, best of both worlds. But what I will say, when I got this out of the box, deployment was not the easiest thing. I think I broke it in a little bit, so it's a little bit easier now. But this very slim opening hole we have right here, not wild about it. I understand the concept behind it. It's supposed to not be obtrusive. It's not obstructive. It's not going to get in the way. If you were to actually use this as a kitchen knife, use it for food prepping and cutting through, I don't know, vegetables, if you're sawing through cabbage, onions, tomatoes, anything like that. If you have a thumb stud here, that's going to obstruct whatever you're cutting into. That's why they went with thumb holes. If you had a really big thumb hole, I'd imagine maybe gunk would get stuck in there, the food could get stuck in there easier. So they went with a very slim design. It's very interesting. It's almost like two levels to it. There's an initial cutout and then there's like a second cutout in there, as you can see. Not really sure what that's there for. It's interesting, but you really kind of got to dig the tip of your thumb in there to get that to deploy. It's not that hard or anything. It's certainly easier than it was. When I first got this guy, I really had to swing this sucker open and shut with that, axis lock clone right there, the shaft lock, Duralock, crossbar lock, whatever the hell you want to call it. Now it's a lot better. I can open and close this a lot easier without having to try as hard. So I just had to kind of break that in. I think we probably had some stiff springs in there, which is totally to be expected. No side to side. Yeah, it's a good lockup. Little up and down. There's just a hair of up and down, just enough to fit a human hair, but not bad at all. Totally acceptable. I've had knives that were like $150 that had worse blade play than this, so I'm gonna say that's totally fine. Looks like a satin finish on that blade, by the way. Full flat ground. That's pretty much what you generally want for food prepping. So you have less resistance. There's consistent resistance as well, so you don't have a grind starting halfway, so it might obstruct what you're cutting through. Very clean, consistent cuts, slashes, chops you're going to get with this guy. Deployment's subpar compared to most other knives out there because it's not the easiest to get to that thumb hole. You really got to dig the tip of your thumb in there. If we had a big old circle right there, was cut at 90 degree, would be really easy. We had a big old thumb stud right there, that would be really easy to flick open and close. But for the philosophy of this knife's use, for what its calling is, it's supposed to be a kitchen knife. That's why they went with that. I'm not wild about it. I don't hate it. You could probably mod that if you wanted to throw a zip tie on there or something. That would be a pretty sick mod, dude. You could do that. You can even probably wave it off of your pocket that way too. Without it, it is what it is. It's totally fine for opening conventionally, just for EDC tasks, no problems. But if you're like, oh man, I gotta open it quickly, you can do that, but you really gotta be careful. You really gotta pinch down on this guy. We have smooth, rounded G10 handles here, so it's not the easiest to do that. You really gotta brace your fingertips on there. You really gotta consciously dig the tip of your thumb in there. You really gotta give it a wrist flick. You really gotta flick your thumb. But if you do it, you can flick it. It's not the end of the world, but it's not as easy as most other knives. Most knives I just grab and boop, I just move my thumb slightly and bam, it's out, no questions asked. This guy, if you pick this thing up, I guarantee you're gonna be thinking the same thing. It's like, ooh, it feels a little goofy and clumsy because that thumb hole is just so damn slim. I just wish they gave us a larger thumb hole. I get it, I know why they didn't do that, but I just wish they did it anyway. Fuck it, It's okay. Deployment's not terrible, it's just not good. I would give it a C-. But we have this lock right here, the axis lock clone. So if you get good at that, you can deploy it that way. So we have a second option to deploy this knife. Look at that. So you could argue the problem solved if you like deploying your knife that way, but it's still kind of goofy. It's still axis locks, shaft locks. I don't typically like to deploy my knives that way unless I'm just dicking around with it for fun. Yeah, I know we all do that. It's fun and all, but if we're in a serious situation, a life-threatening defensive situation, here we go again. Here comes the tactical blade use. I don't know if I would want to do that. Again, you really got to grip on this knife hard so it doesn't fly out of your hands, and really pinch that down and really flick it open and really make sure you get that locked in place and don't have it like rebound on you, which could happen in a stressful situation. Maybe your palm's all sweaty because your adrenaline's going, life or death. This might fly out of your hands, etc. It's just not a tactical knife. It's almost there. It's so close to being a tactical knife. We have a very, very good grip on here once it's in your hand. We have a lot of reach, really long cutting edge. It's razor sharp. Even though it's 440, I know everybody makes fun of 440. They'll dump on it. It's the worst blade steel ever. It sucks. You can't cut anything with it. Like, dude, I got nothing against 440 as long as the heat treatment's okay. No, it's not as good as a lot of the other blade steels we have out there, but it's not that bad. It's comparable to 8CR13 MOV. It's comparable to AUS 8. It's around that range, more or less. Not too bad at all. Oh, yeah. I didn't cut too much stuff with this knife. I didn't think it was necessary to test the cutting edge because it's 440. I kind of know what the deal is by now. It just fine. It's going to have okay edge retention, okay rust resistance. It's a decent blade steel. For the money, that's about as good as you're going to get. If you want to throw something better on there, we're probably going to have to shrink the blade. We're going to have to get rid of some of the accenting on here. We have to get a worse fit and finish job, perhaps, if you want to get better blade steel, because blade steel contributes, I would argue, the most to the price of a knife. So not a bad blade steel overall, especially for kitchen work. Definitely no problems there. Carries perfectly fine. No issues with the way this knife carries. Perfect pocket clip, very simple. I kind of wish they went with like a cool, like aesthetic design that mimic the aesthetics of this knife. But they didn't. This went with something standard. Hey, I'm not complaining. It's totally fine. It's slightly embedded within the handle right there. It looks like there's a cutout in there and they kind of slipped it through, but it's not entirely flush underneath it. It's kind of weird. It's very rare I see this. It's like they have a little slipped in cutout right there and they just kind of boop, slid it in there. So it's better than just slapping it directly on top of the handle scale, but it's not fully nested in there either. It's okay. Not bad. Really great pocket clip. Perfect tension on there. It's perfect. Yeah, that's about what's going to be poking out there. It's very discreet, I think. It extracts perfectly fine because it's smooth. It's nice and snappy. Not swappable to the left side. That sucks. Dude, Senbon, just tap some holes right here. Do the same thing you did there on that scale. Just repeat that for all your scales and now you can swap it. Would have made it awesome. Would have been perfectly ambidextrous. We got the ambidextrous locking mechanism on there. We got the ambidextrous thumb hole, but you did not give us an ambidextrous pocket clip. That's really unfortunate, but everything else about it is ambidextrous. We're almost there. So deployment, not great, but not bad. The grip on it, it doesn't have the best traction plan. There's no jimping anywhere. So it's okay. The ergonomics are great. Once this is in your hand, once you got a good grip on there and you're clenched down in it, there's a lot to hold on to. You have a long cutting edge to deal with. It's great, actually. But getting to that point is the problem. I talk about this all the time, but there's a lot of knives out there that would be A-okay for self-defense, A-okay for tactical use once you have it deployed, extracted, and you're holding it. The problem is getting to that point, extracting it out of your pocket, then deploying it within like a couple seconds. You see that? Like I was trying right there and it wouldn't deploy because that thumb hole's so damn thin. Just wish it was easier to deploy this knife, and I kind of wish we had some jimping or some kind of traction plan or something somewhere, but we don't. Blade steel's okay. The price is good. The weight's good. I love the way it looks. It's a beautiful knife. I love the length of it. Really long cutting edge. It's approaching extra large size folding knife. It's longer than the Spyderco Resilience. It's gonna be excellent for food prepping, kitchen style work, which is its main calling, but it's also doubling as an EDC knife and almost a tactical blade. It's almost there. I want to recommend it as a tactical blade. You could use it as a tactical blade, but you're really going to have to practice with this thing and know how to reliably deploy this thing quickly every single time. Tactical use, unfortunately, is just not this knife's calling. Everything else is there, but deployment's not. It's just a little bit too slow, a little bit too clumsy, a little bit too goofy, but EDC, great EDC knife. You want an EDC knife that has a really long blade on there, this is perfect. It's smooth enough. I don't think it's on ball bearings. I didn't check. I didn't open it up or anything. It doesn't feel like it's on ball bearings. Wish we could deploy this easier. I wish we had a bigger hole right there. It's a thin blade, by the way. It's a very, very thin blade. Just compare that to our Recon 1 more time. You can just see with your eyeballs philosophy of using this as a kitchen knife. That's kind of what you want. You don't want too much resistance on there. And that, with the fact that this is so wide, it kind of helps counteract that. If this is really, really thin, and slim, both the girth of it and the width of it, then yeah, that would be delicate. But because this blade's so big and wide, especially if you get the Nakiri, I think that kind of counteracts the fact that it's slim. And that also helps keep weight down, helps keep costs down, all that good stuff. And you don't really need a super thick knife if you want to get into tactical and defensive use either, I don't think. So overall, I'm a huge fan of this knife. It really grew on me. I'm just glad it's affordable. It's a sub $40 knife. We're getting above a 4.5-inch blade. Damn, it's a long knife. It's cool looking. It's beautiful. I like the presentation with the box. I like how they give you the microfiber cloth and the pouch and all that. It's very beautiful, very simple, very classy, actually. I'm a sucker for black and orange. It's like my favorite color combination there. It's very simple. It's comfortable. It's smooth. I'm a huge fan of this knife. And of course, that shaft lock on there, that sets it over the top. I think that's a standard. We got to be throwing these things on all knives now. I love it. Absolutely love that locking mechanism. It's strong, it's fast, it's fidget friendly, ambidextrous, stronger than a liner lock. I just wish it was easier to deploy this thing, man. That's what's really killing it for me. But again, it's supposed to be like a kitchen knife. It's not mainly an EDC or tactical blade. It's a kitchen knife slash EDC blade and almost a tactical blade, but overall, really, really, really cool knife. And I love the variety too. Just pick your poison, pick your blade style. I think they're all going to be great. Maybe except for the bread knife. That's a very, very specific blade style. But if you want an EDC knife that's going to be excellent for cutting bread, look no further. The Senbon bread knife is the one you're going to want. But anyway, that's it. Really cool knife. You want to try something a little bit different and you just want a blade that's a little bit longer, look no further, my friend. It's a really, really cool option. Senbon, if you're watching this, whoever you are, keep going in this direction. But I would like to see some improvements and make it a tactical kitchen knife. That would be really cool. You're almost there. Almost there, man. It's a really, really cool knife. I like it. I'm a huge fan. So anyway, that is it. That's a Senbon Santoku style kitchen knife. Do you have this knife? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. It's always interesting to hear what you guys have to say, and I always learn something from you. Thank you so much for watching. Mannix out.